Most comedians make people laugh with clever jokes. Rowan Atkinson did it without saying much at all.
Taking out a girl for the first time is a very complex issue. The first crucial step is having arranged to pick up your date and not to look like a complete idiot when she opens the door.
A single stare, an awkward pause, or one perfectly timed facial expression was enough to leave an entire audience in tears from laughing. But here's the surprising part. Some of Rowan Atkinson's funniest moments didn't happen in Mr. Bean episodes. They happened on live television, during interviews, award shows, and even in completely unscripted situations where nobody knew what he was going to do next. Over the years, he's embarrassed talk show hosts, stolen the spotlight at public events, and turned the most ordinary situations into comedy that millions of people still watch decades later. So what makes Rowan Atkinson different from almost every comedian who came before him? And why do moments that contain almost no dialogue still make people laugh harder than most modern comedy? Today, we're counting down the unforgettable moments that prove Rowan Atkinson isn't just the man behind Mr. Bean. He's one of the greatest physical comedians the world has ever seen. Most people know Rowan Atkinson as the silent, awkward man in a tweed jacket who somehow manages to turn the simplest task into complete chaos. But long before the world knew him as Mr. Bean, Rowan was following a path that looked nothing like a comedy career. He studied electrical engineering, earned a master's degree, and for a while, it seemed far more likely that he'd end up working in technology than entertaining millions of people. Comedy wasn't the obvious destination. It was simply something he couldn't ignore. While many comedians focused on writing sharper jokes or delivering punchlines faster, Rowan became fascinated by something different: how much emotion a person could communicate without speaking. During his university years, he spent time experimenting with facial expressions, body language, and exaggerated movements. He wasn't trying to create a famous character yet. He was exploring a simple question. How funny can a moment become if the audience already understands what's happening before a single word is spoken? That idea eventually became the foundation of his entire career. When Mr. Bean finally appeared on television in 1990, audiences immediately recognized that they were watching something completely different. Bean wasn't the loudest person in the room. In fact, he barely spoke at all. Instead, every confused glance, every exaggerated reaction, and every painfully awkward decision told the story on its own. And that's exactly why the character crossed borders so effortlessly. You didn't need to understand English to understand Mr. Bean. Whether you were watching in London, New York, Tokyo, or Sao Paulo, the comedy worked because it relied on expressions, timing, and everyday situations that almost anyone could relate to. That's an incredibly difficult skill to master. Making people laugh with words is one thing. Making millions laugh in complete silence is something else entirely. But Rowan Atkinson wasn't content with creating a single unforgettable character. Away from Mr. Bean, he revealed a completely different side of his comedy. One that was sharper, more unpredictable, and often even funnier because nobody saw it coming. And that's where some of his most unforgettable moments began. Creating a character like Mr. Bean is impressive. Staying in that character when the cameras aren't rolling, that's where Rowan Atkinson became truly unforgettable. Over the years, he appeared on countless talk shows and live events. Most interviews followed the same routine: questions about his latest project, a few laughs, and then everyone moved on. But whenever Rowan decided to slip back into Mr. Bean, the interview stopped feeling like an interview altogether. One appearance started with a simple question about his flight. The host expected a polite answer. Instead, Bean became completely distracted by something nobody else had even noticed: a squeaky chair. Within seconds, the conversation fell apart in the funniest possible way. Rather than answering the questions, he treated the chair as if it were the biggest problem in the room, inspecting it, complaining about it, and making every tiny movement feel like a major crisis. It was a perfect reminder of what made the character so special. Bean never looked for trouble. Trouble somehow found him. Even the most ordinary object could become the center of an entire comedy routine. That same ability showed up during award show performances. While most actors dream about hearing their name announced as the winner, Rowan found something much funnier: the person who doesn't win. Instead of celebrating success, He exaggerated every awkward emotion that comes with losing. The forced smile, the fake applause, the quiet disappointment hidden behind polite manners. It wasn't just funny because of the expressions. It was funny because almost everyone has experienced that feeling at least once. Rowan had a rare talent for taking emotions people usually try to hide and turning them into comedy everyone instantly recognized. But his funniest moments weren't always carefully planned performances. Sometimes they happened during completely unpredictable interviews. In one memorable television appearance, a friendly conversation quickly turned into a ridiculous contest between Rowan and the host. What started as playful teasing suddenly became a series of bizarre challenges. Who could move their ears better? Who could say a simple word the fastest? Who had the better dance moves? None of it made any logical sense. And that was exactly why it worked. With complete confidence, Rowan invented his own scoring system, declared himself the winner after almost every challenge, and announced an absurd final score that left everyone in the studio laughing. Only Rowan Atkinson could make a competition with imaginary rules feel completely believable. That's the secret behind his comedy. He fully commits to the joke. No matter how ridiculous the situation becomes, he never breaks character. And when a performer treats absolute nonsense as if it's completely normal, the audience can't help but laugh. But as hilarious as those interviews were, they still weren't the best example of Rowan Atkinson's brilliance. Some of his greatest performances happened on stage, where there were no special effects, no editing, and nowhere to hide. And that's where his extraordinary timing became impossible to ignore. For most comedians, making people laugh depends on what they say. For Rowan Atkinson, it has always been about how he says it, or, more often, how he says nothing at all. One of the best examples came during his famous stage performances. Whether he was playing an overly confident speaker, an awkward interviewer, or a character trapped in an impossible situation, Rowan had an incredible ability to keep a completely straight face, while everything around him slowly descended into chaos. He never rushed the joke. Instead, he let the silence build. A pause would last just a little longer than expected. A simple glance would replace an entire sentence. And by the time the audience realized where the moment was heading, they were already laughing. That level of timing isn't something you can fake. It's the result of years spent understanding exactly how people react to the smallest details. Even outside of scripted performances, Rowan's sense of humor never seemed forced. Whether he was promoting a film, appearing on television, or celebrating the legacy of Mr. Bean's famous green mini, he always found a way to create comedy out of everyday situations. He didn't need expensive sets. He didn't rely on flashy visual effects. Sometimes all it took was a chair that wouldn't stop squeaking, an overly serious expression, or a simple misunderstanding that kept getting worse with every passing second. Those ordinary moments became unforgettable because Rowan understood something many comedians overlook. The funniest situations often begin with the smallest problems. That's why his comedy has lasted for decades. Technology has changed. Comedy trends have changed. The way people consume entertainment has completely changed. Yet millions of viewers still return to the same sketches and interviews, laughing at moments they've already seen countless times. Very few performers can achieve that. Mr. Bean wasn't successful because he talked less. He was successful because his emotions were instantly recognizable. Embarrassment, confusion, pride, frustration, curiosity. They're emotions everyone understands, no matter where they live or what language they speak. And Rowan Atkinson transformed those universal feelings into comedy that could travel across cultures without losing its impact. That's an incredibly rare gift. Looking back, it's easy to focus on the awards, the record-breaking television audience, or the worldwide success of Mr. Bean. But Rowan Atkinson's real achievement goes far beyond numbers. He proved that laughter doesn't always need clever punchlines. Sometimes, a single look, one perfectly timed pause, or one ridiculous decision can make the whole world laugh. And that's exactly why, decades later, Rowan Atkinson isn't remembered as just another comedian. He's remembered as one of the greatest physical performers in entertainment history. Someone whose comedy continues to connect generations, proving that truly great humor never goes out of style. Comedy changes with every generation. The jokes evolve. The trends come and go. But every once in a while, a performer comes along whose work feels just as fresh decades later as it did the day audiences first saw it. Rowan Atkinson is one of those rare performers. He proved that laughter doesn't always need clever dialogue or elaborate setups. Sometimes, a perfectly timed pause, a puzzled expression, or a simple everyday mistake is all it takes to make millions of people laugh. That's why Mr. Bean continues to find new fans around the world, even years after the character first appeared on television. His comedy doesn't depend on language. It depends on something much more universal: human nature. And maybe that's Rowan Atkinson's greatest achievement. He created a character that almost never speaks, yet somehow made the entire world laugh. That's a legacy very few entertainers will ever match. If Rowan Atkinson has ever made you laugh, let us know which moment is your all-time favorite in the comments. And if you enjoy documentaries about legendary actors, unforgettable performances, and the stories behind entertainment's biggest icons, subscribe to the channel, because there's plenty more to come. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.